Hey, welcome back again to another episode of the Jupiter 2 model build. Here we have one of the support beam pieces that go around the interior of the ship, and it's a two-piece assembly here, two halves which fit together. And in the show it lights up in the center here. You can see it in this shot pulsing in the background. And that is something I would like to try to accomplish with this kit. So I got this ultra mini LED strip from Adafruit. It's 4mm wide. I forget how long it was, but I cut it up into lengths that are the same height as the beam here. And my plan is to see if I can have this strip shine through the beam and come out the front of the beam. So my first thought was to try to shave away and cut away the inside of the beam to make a space for the light to shine through. So I went and marked on here at the top and the bottom, kind of angled, and I would then sand down or shave down the inside here to make a gap for the light to pass through to light the front. And I've gone here and you can see I've been using a Dremel tool trying to grind away at the interior, and you can see there is some space there. It's really difficult. It's hard to know exactly how deep I'm getting and to have a consistent depth as well. So I decided to go with plan B and try to make this piece from scratch using some sheets of styrene. I've got some 0.75mm styrene sheet here, and my plan is to trace one of these beams and cut it out on the sheet, make each side, and then I have this 2.5mm wide strip here that I will put in between my two sheets on the top and bottom to frame it in. And with the width of the strip and the depth of the sheets, it gives me 4mm, which matches the depth of these two pieces. That way I'll have a nice clean gap in the middle for light to shine through, and I can just discard these pieces and not use them at all. So to begin, I've got my piece here in my styrene, and I'm just going to trace around and then cut it out and make a duplicate copy of it out of my styrene. And I've done that. I've got two halves of a wall here, as you can see, and that's 1.5mm, and then when I add my 2.5mm strip at the top and bottom, that gives me a 4mm wide beam. And you can see here that my pieces are basically an exact match of the kit piece. And I also have this little raised area here that I will also have to cut out and make from scratch as well. So I've glued on a strip at the top and bottom here. It's 2.5mm wide by 1mm high, and you can see how that is. And then I just attached the other side of a beam wall here, and I've got a nice big clean gap there for light to shine through and light the front end. And again, on this piece we have this raised area here that's just, you know, a decorative area of the wall, and I need to recreate that on my piece here as well. So what I have here are some vinyl masks for painting the kit pieces, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a thin sheet of styrene here. I believe it's 1/4mm. I don't have the bag anymore, and I'm just going to take these vinyl mask pieces off and attach it to my sheet of styrene and use this to trace and make the raised area to put onto my wall. And I'm just going to carefully go around with the blade and follow the edge of this mask and trim it out. And there we go, we got my first piece. And I think I'm even going to leave the vinyl mask on there just to give it a little added thickness. And I'm going to sand and taper off the edges here a little bit, round them up like the actual kit piece. So I've got this piece ready, and you can see it'll just fit right onto my other sheet of styrene, and I'll just glue that into position. So I've sprayed the walls here with some Tamiya Fine Gray primer. I've primed it on both sides. And then I've gone and I've shot both sides again with white primer. I want to make sure I have enough paint here coating so that there's no light bleed through the walls. And then I will leave the white on the inside for reflecting and diffusing, and the outside I have gone and painted with the Vallejo sand primer color. So I've got these two pieces ready to go. Nice and bright white on the inside for bouncing the light. You can see my chrome silver edge there. Same with this piece here. And then the two halves will just fit together like so. And you can see the chrome edges, and then the center will be white with the light shining through it. And here is the little pieces that I've painted with the Tamiya wooden deck tan that I just need to glue to the sides. So I've gone and I've glued these in position, as you can see. Then moving on, I glue along the front edge a 1/4 millimeter thick piece of styrene. You can see I've glued that in position. I've just gone a little bit at a time and super glued that around the front edge. And I cut out at the top here a little notch for a little bit of light to bleed through. And so I've taped a strip to the back, as you can see, with some just yellow tape there, and closed up the wall. And I'm just going to do a little lighting test here. And there you can see the wall beam lit up and working. And I'm even doing some animation to make it pulse as well. And here's a little peek of how it will look with some walls around it. So then it's time I just start cutting out the remaining beams, of which there are 6 of the short ones total, and then I have 2 longer ones which go on either side of the main console and the bridge. And on the long pieces, you can see on the kit piece here, there are these engraved lines, etched lines in the piece. So I have taped off and marked where that will go on mine, and I'm going to etch those out with this tool. And you can see here I've gone and I've etched it out, and I've sprayed it all with the sand primer. And I've also gone and cut out a piece of styrene using this mask here for their wall decoration. And I've gone and I've attached all the wall pieces, which have all been painted with the Tamiya wooden deck tan. And you can see all the pieces here painted and ready to be assembled. I've then gone and glued my 1mm by 2.5mm strips on the tops and bottom of all the wall pieces. And on this particular one, there's a speaker that goes in this section, so I've done a little black painting there, and I'm just going to take this photo etched speaker and glue it in position over the black paint, and we'll have a speaker there. And this short wall piece has a fire extinguisher which attaches to it, and I'm going to need to attach that to my custom built wall piece. So I'm going to put the kit piece right over mine, and I'm just going to take a drill bit here and just go through the hole and mark on my piece where the fire extinguisher goes. And now that I've got those holes marked, I'm just going to go with the drill and just drill in a little deeper to make an indentation. So I've got an indentation here, some holes, and I've snipped off the posts of the fire extinguisher, just left little nubs which will fit right inside there. So I'm just going to take some super glue and put some super glue into my little divots here and attach the fire extinguisher and glue that in position. And there we have that all set up, and this wall piece is now completed. And this wall piece, you'll notice, has a control panel, and this is a photo etched control panel which will go onto my custom built wall. However, I glued this piece onto the wall because I did it to all of them, and I realized this wall does not have that little piece there, and the control panel goes right about there, so I need to remove that. So I've gone and I removed it, and you can see the markings where it was glued. So I've now gone through, sanded it down, and repainted it. And I have taped off and marked where the control panel goes on this kit piece here. And I'm just going to take my little tape marker and apply it on my custom built wall beam, like so. And then I know where to put the photo etch piece. And with this photo etch secured, I took this 1/2 millimeter drill bit and I drilled through the holes, as you can see, so that light can come through. And there you can see the holes in the styrene. And I've gone and painted the back side of the holes with my clear blue, yellow, and red. And then I've glued the photo etch piece in place, attached the decal to the photo etch, and you can see when light shines through the back, you can see the color coming through the photo etch piece there, looking like a lit control panel. But now I have an issue of having a solidly lit control panel, yet having a pulsing light coming through the front, and that control panel being there in the way. So what I did is I glued a thin sheet of styrene over the holes for some light diffusion, mounted a SMD LED directly on top, and glued some foil over the top of that. That way the foil will block the light, and it's a very low profile, as you can see there, and the foil will also let the pulsing light bounce around. And here you can see I have a solidly lit control panel light, yet I still get the pulsing light effect through the wall beam itself. So there we have it. All 8 beams are now assembled, built from scratch, painted. They all have light that will pass through them and pulse, as you can see, that I've programmed. And I've basically taken care of that whole situation, which was one of my biggest concerns when starting the kit. And it actually went a lot easier than I thought it would. So I hope you enjoyed this particular episode, and until next time, thanks again for watching. Hey, if you like watching my videos, please feel free to give them a like. And so you don't miss any of my upcoming videos, click subscribe.